Let's talk chicken tortilla soup. I'm talking Chick-fil-A style. I don't know if you've had it recently. It is so good. But I just priced it, and a cup runs about $6 with tax. A bowl of it is around 9. Now, I get it. Somebody else is doing all of the prep and cooking it. You're paying the price for convenience. But I've got a copycat version that I'm going to make today. If you purchase and prep your ingredients just right, the whole pot will run around $9. Hi, I'm Laura, and I hope you'll make yourself at home while I make some copycat Chick-fil-A chicken tortilla soup today. The first thing I'm going to do is get some oil heating up on the stove in a pot, and then I'll take one medium diced onion and add to that hot oil to get it sauteing. You'll see there that I actually had some already chopped and frozen in a freezer bag, and that's what I've used. I have a video on stocking your freezer on a budget. I'll actually link that in the description box below for anybody that's interested. And that's what I'm using in this recipe. I'm actually using several things from that video in this particular recipe. I added just a touch of salt to the onion as soon as I got that in the pot, and that's just to get it seasoned up. I'll add most of my seasonings in just a minute, but that's just to get things started with the onion. This onion will need to saute for about 4 to 5 minutes. You don't have to stand over it the whole time, but just keep an eye on it and come back every couple minutes and check it. And you just want it to start to soften. It's going to continue to soften as you add your other ingredients and the soup finishes cooking. So just a few minutes to give it a jump start. Once that onion starts to get soft, you're going to add 2 cloves of garlic to the pot. I just minced mine right over the pot and added it right in. Honestly, you could put more. If I'd have had more, I would have put more in it, but all I had was 2, so that's all I went with. Once you get the garlic added, you do want to stand there with the pot and stir it pretty constantly to prevent it from burning. So just hang out there with it for about 30 seconds to a minute as you get that finished up. So it's at this point that I realize I don't have my next ingredient ready to add to the pot. So I actually turned my eye off and moved the pot off of the burner so that it would not continue cooking, and I shift gears to that next ingredient. I'm adding the equivalent of 2 cans of northern beans straight into my blender, and I'm going to puree this, and it's going to create the base for our soup. So that's where this soup is actually a bit different from most soups. You don't have a traditional chicken broth or beef broth base that you might with others, and it's going to give it quite a creamy quality. And in addition to that, it's going to provide an extra level of nutrition and substance that you don't get from a broth. And it's not a light soup in that you're going to want a lot of it, but it is going to stick to you. It's going to fill you up and leave you very satisfied. So you see me here, I'm having to work with my beans just a little bit. They were still just a little frozen in the middle, and so there was a little chunk that didn't want to go down into the blender, and I just have to kind of manhandle that a little bit, but we get the job done. Okay, that's great. You see that nice creamy consistency. That's exactly what we're going for. So now I shift gears back to my pot. I have my onions and garlic back on the stove eye and heated back up to temperature. And I'm ready to add my seasonings into the pot. And I'm going to start by adding 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of oregano, and 2 teaspoons of cumin. Once I get these seasonings into the pot, I'm just going to stir it and let it hang out for just a minute or so, and then start to add the rest of my ingredients. So it's at this point that I'm going to take those pureed beans and add those into the pot. Next, I'll add 1 can of rinsed and drained black beans. Next, I'll add 1 can of northern beans. Now I'll go in with 2 cans of Rotel. If you can't take that much heat, you can always sub out diced tomatoes for one or both of those. Now I'll go in with 1 can of cream corn. And next I'll add 1 can of whole kernel corn. The last ingredient I'll add at this stage is my cooked shredded chicken. I have some rotisserie chicken that I had shredded and put in the freezer, so I'm using that. I add 3 cups of chicken. You can use basically any chicken you want to. You could cook and shred your own chicken breasts or thighs, or you could use canned chicken, just whatever works for you, whatever your preference is, honestly. So at this point, you have all of your ingredients in your soup. And I look at mine and I feel like it's looking a little bit thick. So I decided to add some water. And in total, I added 2.5 cups of water. At this point, you have your soup put together and it just needs to hang out on the stove for about 15 or 20 minutes. You want to check it every few minutes because the beans are the base of the soup. You do have some sugars there and it may want to stick to your pan. So don't go too far away. Come back and give it a stir. Kind of take your spoon and scrape it along the bottom of the pan and just check it to make sure everything's good. But it doesn't take long. In fact, you can turn it down on low and let it hang out even longer. You still need to come back and check it, but your soup is almost finished. Now, because I added some water, I did come back and taste test and decided I needed just a little more seasoning. So I added a little salt and a little bit of oregano, not too much of either. And that's all I added to finish it off. And I let it hang out for just a little bit longer. And we're going to serve it up soon. So we love to eat this just on its own, or sometimes I make cornbread, or we just serve tortilla chips on the side. Sometimes I like to get those little tortilla strips and serve on top. Those are really yummy in the soup. Another thing we like to do sometimes is we'll make cheese quesadillas to serve on the side and maybe just have like a cup of soup instead of a big bowl. No matter how you serve this, the one thing you absolutely must do is you have to serve this with a splash of lime juice. Lime just takes it over the top and it is so incredible. It's amazing what it does to this soup. I don't care if it's fresh or from a bottle, you have to serve it with lime. And there you have it. Chick-fil-A Copycat Chicken Tortilla Soup. All in, I had about $9 in this pot of soup. And I got about 9 adult-sized servings. $1 a serving. You cannot beat that. And it's so delicious, so comforting on a winter day, so hearty and nutritious. You're going to love this. I really hope you'll give it a try. Give this video a thumbs up, and I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching.